Life isn't punishing you, it's simply not designed to protect your illusions. If that stings a little, good, because the moment you stop asking the world to be fair is the moment you become hard to manipulate. We were raised on a pretty story. Work hard, be kind, and the universe will file your paperwork. But the Stoics warned us reality doesn't sign that contract. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, you govern your mind, not the weather of the world. And here's the quiet advantage no one teaches. If you master your mind, you immediately pass most people who are just reacting to whatever today throws at them. Think about the last time disappointment hit you. Was it because life was cruel, or because your expectations were romantic? Dangerous intelligence isn't about outsmarting people. It's about cutting through your own comforting fog. You look at what is, not what you wish it to be. You ask, what am I assuming? What if the opposite is also true? You stop fighting gravity and start building wings. Picture two drivers in a storm. One argues with the rain. The other adjusts the speed, checks the mirrors, and makes it home. Same storm, different captain. That's the game we're really playing. Not, how do I force the world to behave, but how do I train my perception to stay clear under pressure? This series is your field manual, 8 ruthless lessons that make you unshakable in the best way. Seeing through appearances, reading motives without cynicism, and acting justly even when chaos is loud. You won't become colder, you'll become kinder and stronger, because you'll stop confusing kindness with blindness. If you're ready, make a private promise right now. Today I choose clarity over comfort, because when clarity leads, fear loses its job. Next we start with lesson 1. Why emotions drive the car and how Stoic thinking keeps your hands on the wheel when the road turns violent. Most people think they make decisions with logic. They don't. They just use logic to explain what emotion already decided. Have you ever noticed that? You call it reasoning, but really it's your feelings holding the steering wheel and logic is just writing the press release after the crash. The Stoics understood this long before psychology ever confirmed it. They knew, if you can't see your emotions clearly, you'll mistake them for truth. I once worked with a student in Austin. He swore he bought an expensive gym package because it had the best trainers, the latest science, the perfect plan. But when we talked longer, the truth surfaced he'd just gone through a painful divorce. What he really wanted wasn't muscle, it was connection, validation, a place where someone would notice him. The logic was camouflage. That's the hidden pattern in almost every human decision. We fight online not for facts, but for identity. We resist new ideas at work not because they're wrong, but because deep down, we fear becoming irrelevant. Marcus Aurelius warned, people are rarely angry about what they say they're angry about. It's pride, fear, or the hunger to feel seen disguised as arguments about efficiency, fairness, or truth. So the next time you feel that rush, pause. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? Anger? Fear? The need to prove something? And the harder question, what decision would I regret tomorrow if I acted on this emotion today? And when someone else is heated, don't argue with their logic. Speak to the emotion underneath it. I see why this matters to you. That single line often calms a storm faster than 1,000 counterpoints. That is dangerous intelligence, the ability to read the emotional weather in yourself and others before it turns into fire. In the next lesson, we'll uncover another hidden truth, why every person, no matter how kind they seem, acts in their own interest and how seeing that clearly can set you free. Most people aren't against you, they're just arranged around their incentives. The sooner you accept that, the lighter your heart gets and the clearer your choices become. We were trained to label motives as pure or selfish, but Stoicism offers a steadier lens. People pursue what appears good to them. That's not cynicism, it's human physics. A story. A non-profit organizer invited me to speak at her gala, front row seating, glowing intros, the works. Later, she asked if I could introduce her to 2 investors who followed my work. Was the invitation fake? No. She cared about the cause and the connections. 2 motives, 1 action. When I saw both, I stopped feeling suspicious and started negotiating wisely. This shift helps everywhere. That teammate who praises your sprint update might also want shared authorship on the next roadmap. The recruiter who just wants to network may be nurturing pipeline for a monthly quota. None of this makes them villains. It makes them human. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to look past the surface to the currents underneath. Seneca warned that resisting human nature is like arguing with gravity. So replace, why are they so selfish, with, what does a win look like for them? Then design the overlap, where their win doesn't cost your integrity and maybe advances your mission. Run this 3-step alignment scan before you say yes. Incentives. What do they gain or avoid? Status, time, money, safety. What about me? Patterns is greater than promises. What have they repeated, especially when no one's watching? Design the deal. How can I structure this? So good behavior is the easiest behavior. When you read motives cleanly, you collaborate without naivety and decline without resentment. You stop being a passive buyer in the marketplace of influence and become a conscious chooser. See interests without hardening your heart. Choose with clarity, not paranoia. That is dangerous intelligence steering with the current instead of pretending there is no water. Next, we turn the mirror around. Most people can't handle the truth about themselves, and that's exactly where your freedom begins. Your next breakthrough isn't in a new book, it's in the truth you keep postponing. We all wear a gentle filter for ourselves. It smooths the edges and keeps the mirror kind. But the Stoics warned, a soft mirror builds a hard life. Edit the reflection, and reality will correct you later with interest. A creator I coached blamed the algorithm for a flat channel. Shadow banned, wrong niche, bad timing. The analytics told a colder story. Erratic uploads, thumbnails with tiny text, average view duration dropping after minute 2. He didn't need a new platform. He needed a new pattern. That's the trap most of us stumble into. We confuse self-protection with self-respect. Self-protection avoids data to stay comfortable. Self-respect confronts data to get better. Marcus Aurelius turned this into a daily drill. Question motive, test assumption, adjust course. Not drama discipline. Try this Stoic truth audit tonight. Name, write 1 sentence of the truth you've avoided. Plain words, no poetry. Trace, where does it show up? Calendar, sleep, tone, results, cost. What has it already taken? Time, trust, opportunity. Tiny counter move. The smallest fix you can repeat for 7 days: a posting schedule, a 30-minute craft block, a 1-line boundary. When feedback arrives, watch your first reflex. Defensiveness protects the mask. Curiosity strengthens the person behind it. Ask, can you show me 1 example? Then write it down. This is how you become hard to manipulate, by removing the easy handles on your ego. There's nothing to hook when there's nothing you must defend. Claim even 10% responsibility, and you reclaim 100% of your agency. The mirror is not a judge, it's a map. Up next, we'll explore the social tax of progress, why success provokes envy, and how to keep building without shrinking. Every time you rise, you don't just change your view, you change what people see in you. Success doesn't just test your skills, it tests your ecosystem. The moment you start climbing, you stop being a mirror that comforts people and start being one that confronts them. Growth exposes what others could have done but didn't. And not everyone wants that reflection in their day. Years ago, a designer I mentored landed her first big client. The same peers who once shared her portfolio posts started posting funny memes about sellouts and fake authenticity. She didn't become arrogant, she became evidence. Her progress reminded others of their own procrastination. That's the emotional math of envy. It converts someone else's movement into your discomfort. Marcus Aurelius lives surrounded by envy, gossip, and empty flattery. He wrote, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know what is good." That's the Stoic compass. Don't let other people's shadows dictate your light. So here's the reframe. When your success offends, it's not about your noise, it's about their silence. Don't bend to make the reflection softer. Keep doing the work. Keep building. Let consistency speak louder than commentary. When criticism comes wrapped as humor or half praise, treat it as data, not drama. Their reaction reveals their peace, not your flaw. Offer grace, but guard your energy. Compassion doesn't require proximity. Remember, success isn't a spotlight, it's a filter. The same light that helps you grow will expose who was only clapping for your struggle. And that's clarity worth keeping. Next, we'll look at something even subtler. The invisible web of influence, how to see through manipulation without becoming cynical. Not everyone manipulates, but everyone negotiates. Once you accept that, you stop feeling tricked and start seeing clearly. Every human exchange is a miniature negotiation of time, of trust, of emotion. Influence isn't always malicious. Sometimes it's unconscious, sometimes strategic. The key is awareness without paranoia. A few years ago, a former coworker reached out with warmth asking how I'd been, reminiscing about the old days. Midway through the chat, he slid in a collaboration that turned out to be a referral program pitch. He wasn't lying. He was blending interests. His version of connection came with a call to action. That day, I learned something. Most asks aren't evil, they're ecosystems. You just need to see them as such. The Stoics called this premeditatio rationis, the premeditation of motive. Marcus Aurelius didn't assume malice, he assumed intention. Everyone had one. And that's what kept him calm in the storm of politics, flattery, and persuasion. Before you commit, pause for a 3-point influence scan. Reward. Risk. What would they gain or lose if I said yes? Repetition. Do I see this pattern praise before pressure? Urgency before details? Exchange. What does yes cost me in energy, focus, or credibility? What does no protect? Once you see the hidden agenda, you don't have to harden your heart. You just sharpen your perception. Two truths can coexist. Someone can care and also need something. That's not manipulation, it's human overlap. Try this Stoic phrase when you sense a hidden motive. Help me understand what a win looks like for you. It surfaces intentions gracefully and keeps connection intact. Because awareness, not accusation, is what keeps your power intact. Seeing through influence doesn't make you cold, it makes you conscious. You move from reacting to choosing, from being persuaded to partnering with purpose. That's dangerous intelligence, not suspicion, but perception trained to serve truth. Next, we face a lesson many ignore until it's too late. When people show you who they are, believe the pattern, not the apology. People don't change overnight, they repeat in higher resolution. It's 7 palos, it's 7. We're often warned not to judge too fast. But the greater danger is not seeing fast enough. The Stoics taught, character is revealed by consistency, not confession. You don't need to decode people. You just need to pay attention. I once worked with a marketing partner who loved big talk. Always next quarter, massive rollout, trust me. But the small clues were louder. Missed check-ins, sloppy invoices, polite excuses that recycled every month. My gut whispered, he's telling you the truth, just not in words. Months later, when a project collapsed under hidden debts, it wasn't betrayal, it was confirmation. The evidence had always been there. I had simply preferred the story over the signs. We do this often. Ignore data for the comfort of hope. But Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. People don't slip, they leak patterns. And if you're honest, so do you. So here's the rule. When someone shows you who they are, believe the repetition, not the explanation. If they cut corners when no one's watching, they'll do worse when the stakes are high. If they gossip about others, they'll one day gossip about you. If they respect your boundary only after you raise your voice, they were never listening, they were waiting. Clarity isn't cruelty, it's compassion for your future self. Trust actions more than adjectives. Observe frequency more than apology. That's how Stoics protected peace, by replacing fantasy with pattern recognition. People will reveal themselves. Your only job is to stop repainting the red flags. Forgive quickly but record accurately. That's dangerous intelligence. Up next, the most seductive trap of all: comfort. It looks safe, feels warm, and quietly steals your edge. Comfort doesn't kill suddenly, it lulls you into a version of yourself you stop noticing. We chase comfort as if it were peace, but they're not the same. Comfort is temporary relief. Peace is earned clarity. The Stoics understood this long before self-help existed. Ease weakens what struggle strengthens. A young founder I knew built a thriving startup. After the first big funding round, he bought time literally. No more deadlines, no morning meetings, no friction. For a year, he called it balance. Then came a slow decay, slower ideas, slower reflexes, slower hunger. The company didn't collapse, it just went quiet. Not from failure, but from the absence of pressure. That's how comfort kills, it removes friction. And friction is what keeps potential alive. Marcus Aurelius had palaces, but still chose cold military tents. Seneca, despite immense wealth, practiced sleeping on straw and eating simple meals, not out of guilt, but immunity. They knew hardship isn't the enemy, dependence on ease is. Here's the modern version of their ritual. Speak the truth when silence feels safer. Learn the skill that intimidates you. Do one thing daily that mildly scares you. Every voluntary discomfort is an insurance policy for the inevitable storm. When you choose difficulty on your own terms, life stops catching you off guard. You become antifragile, stronger after friction. That's why Stoicism isn't about detachment, it's about endurance. Comfort asks, how do I stay the same? Discipline asks, what must I become? Comfort is not rest, it's residue. Growth lives one step past the point of ease. So stretch, sweat, speak, learn. Not to suffer, but to stay awake. Next, we face the final mirror of Stoic clarity, mortality itself. Why remembering you are not out of time, you're out of illusions about time. The most bracing gift of Stoicism isn't comfort, it's clarity. One fact sits at the center of every decision. You will run out of days. Not in a tragic poem on a calendar you just can't see yet. When you let that truth in, the noise thins. Approval loses volume. Petty arguments stop paying interest. What remains is what matters. A friend of mine became a full-time caregiver for his father after a sudden stroke. Before that, he treated life like an inbox, endless, later, tomorrow. After, he lived like every hour had color. He started reading to his dad in the mornings, learned to cook the family recipes he'd always get to, and sent voice notes to friends instead of scrolling past their updates. He wasn't reckless, he was selective. Mortality didn't make him darker, it made him exact. That is the heart of memento mori. Remember death, not to be morbid but to be precise. Marcus Aurelius warned that the fear isn't death, it's never beginning to live. Seneca added the cost line we avoid. Squandered time can't be reimbursed. Run this 3-step mortality lens tonight. What endures? Name 3 things that would still matter in your final week. A person, a craft, a promise. Block them on your calendar before anything else claims the day. What can go? Write 2 recurring obligations that won't matter in a year. Bow out with gratitude this week. Where to arrive? Create a 5-minute ritual of presence, sunlight on your face, tea without screens, a slow walk after dinner. Train your attention like a muscle. Before the next panic spiral, ask, if my hours are finite and they are, does this deserve another one? Dangerous intelligence isn't cold, it's clean. It cuts trivialities so love, courage, and craft can breathe. Let mortality sharpen, not scare you. Trade busyness for meaning. Choose the few things worthy of your finite life and give them the best of you while you still can. In the conclusion, we'll weave all 8 lessons into a simple daily ritual, so clarity becomes a habit, not a mood. Death can teach you how to live fully. Comfort tells pretty stories. Truth builds a real life. If you remember nothing else, remember that line. Across this journey, we learned 8 ruthless lessons, not to make you harder, but to make you clearer. Each one is a blade that cuts away illusion. You saw how emotions often drive while logic explains, how every person moves by incentives, how self-deception is a velvet cage, how success tests your circle, how every interaction carries a pitch, how patterns reveal character, how comfort dulls your edge, and how remembering death brings your life into sharp focus. That's not cynicism. That's stewardship of your time, your attention, your soul. So here's the invitation. Choose truth over comfort, discipline over distraction, growth over illusion. Not once, dramatically, but quietly today, then tomorrow, then again. The Stoics didn't preach heroics. They practiced repetitions. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself each morning, not because he was weak, but because he was human. Seneca didn't fear discomfort. He used it to keep his will awake. Ask yourself, what truth am I avoiding because it would require a small goodbye? A goodbye to a habit that keeps you numb. A goodbye to a role that keeps you small. A goodbye to a crowd that prefers you confused. Let clarity cost you. You'll get yourself back in the exchange. Here's a simple daily ritual to anchor it. 1 honest line. Name the feeling before you act. 1 aligned action. Do the smallest hard thing that serves your future self. 1 protected block. Guard 30 minutes for the person, craft, or promise that will still matter on your last week. 1 review. Ask, what did truth require of me today? Then write 1 sentence you're proud of. If this message resonated, make it public. Type 3 words in the comments. I choose clarity, not for the algorithm, but to mark a decision. From this day forward, you won't bargain with your own awareness. You will see clearly, decide cleanly, and live awake. In the next chapter, we'll turn this philosophy into a 10-minute daily practice so clarity isn't a mood, it's a muscle.